and you're watching Versus Live by StarCityGames.com here on twitch.tv/SGG Tour. We got Brian Brown doing in the booth. Say hi to everybody, Brian.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Yeah, a very special guest. Brian is a noted author for TCGplayer.com. If you want to check out his articles, he writes weekly, I believe.
So, every Thursday.
You ever take off?
Occasionally.
Yeah. Classic Brian, sleeping in strats.
Hey, the sleeping special is there for a reason.
Yeah. So today we're going to be playing all three formats in preparation for SCG Columbus. We got Standard first, and then we're going to follow it up with Modern, and then finish it off with Legacy. Brad, I know you've been playing a little bit of the Standard format, both on MTG Arena as well as Magic Online.
I've been playing Arena Limited. I have to build my collection.
Okay. Sorry.
Do you know that each day you get a new deck? They just give you a deck with like a mythic and a land.
That's cool.
I think 40 days I'll have all the mana.
All the mana? Just every
dual land,
land. Nice.
Every dual land.
So tell us your thoughts about Standard in general. I know that you wrote an article that went up today.
Yep.
What was in that article, and where can people find it?
All right, well, they can find it at StarCityGames.com, and I'll also be writing a more in-depth article about a specific archetype on Thursday. Today's article was basically about my general first overview of the format. It centered one of the decks that was popular at the time that I wrote it. The format works fast.
Oh, it's week -1. I know that I started playing Standard on Saturday, and I've already played 6 different decks, and they all kind of are bad.
Well, in my first 5 leagues of the deck that I'm going to be writing about on Thursday, I went 21-4.
That's a very good record.
It was absurd, and I'm not going to spoil anything until Thursday.
Okay.
But it is not your normal deck.
Okay, cool deal.
But for Standard, my overview is people need to start thinking out of the box and trying cards in the format that weren't good. There's a lot of cards that are actually you can play them and they don't die, or they don't. When I say die, planeswalkers, there's no Heart of Kiran anymore. So there are cards in the format that have just gotten better.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Kaladesh, I think, held a lot of stuff down. It really restricted what types of cards you could play just because of the insane power level of these ubiquitous artifacts that were in multiple archetypes. The aggressive decks, the red-black aggro decks that we saw so much of over the last year, really just put the screws to a lot of decks that people would normally want to try, but they were just too slow. They didn't have the right answers to the right threats, or they just weren't efficient enough to keep up with all these really powerful 2-for-1s like Scrap Heap, Chandra Torch of Defiance, Glorybringer.
And the way that decks were designed to fight these decks, I think people are porting over incorrectly. And there's a lot of decks that I see Black-Green midrange, Obzon midrange, Sultai midrange when I play them online. They look like a carbon copy of a deck that you would bring to battle to try to beat red-black aggro, because that's just the way we're thinking right now. We're thinking about decks with this converted mana cost, these amount of removal, these amount of win conditions, and things are changing. And a lot of cards that used to you'd laugh at playing from the last format, I do believe are playable now. So, and I'm still learning a lot about the format. Today, I'm showcasing, we've actually got a really interesting battle. We've got one of the new hotness. Let's start with your deck. A lot of people have been streaming it, talking about it. It's interesting.
So I know Autumn Lily MTG streamed this deck yesterday.
I was watching.
I also streamed this deck last night. It's a mid-range deck focused on the card Disinformation Campaign. And if you don't know what the card does, we'll try to get it up on screen for you. 3-mana enchantment.
Why would we give them the information? That's just so out of...
Oh, right.
They should not. Don't give them the card.
No, you should just put Notion Rain up on the screen just to throw them off. So this card, 3-mana enchantment, ETB, your opponent discards and you draw a card. And whenever you surveil, you can return to your hand. And the way that this works is you create this little mini engine with all of your cards that do something while surveilling, so that you basically keep the gas running. You keep them low on resources. You keep yourself high on resources. And you basically just try to make sure that they're restricted at all times on what they can do.
The card is absolutely filthy and sealed.
Oh, yeah. No, I've heard some nightmare stories about it already in Sealed Deck. And when I started streaming it, half of the comments on Twitter about the deck and the card was specifically with, if that card is good in Standard, I don't want to play Standard.
Yeah.
Because it was so gross in pre-release. I don't think it's overly powerful in Standard. I think enough decks can get under it. It's a lot like an engine card for a control deck that as long as you can kill them before it really gets online, it doesn't have that big of an impact. Plus, later in the game, if you don't have any cards in hand, me just paying 3 mana to draw a card is not that powerful.
Well, also there's cards like History of Benalia, Night of Autumn that can actually deal with it, that I think should be played more in main decks.
Yeah.
I think that card, I mean, it trades with Still Leaf Champion, it kills Argues Bloodfast, Chart a Course, Search for Scanta.
Yeah,
Not Chart a Course, I meant...
Charticourse?
No, sorry, I meant Search for Scanta. Colorless Fluids. It's very
classic
good.
Brad.
It works well with Chart, of
back.
course.
Yeah.
It works well with Chart, of course. But I think that card is Chart a Course.
There you go.
Yep, close. Oh, I do not like this. I regret bringing BBD into the room already.
It's 2v1. You're never gonna win.
My entire goal here is to just troll Brad as often and frequent as possible.
Isn't that your lifetime goal?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just another day in the life.
No, this is some insight into our real lives. When the three of us go to tournaments and travel together, that's where the close thing started, and it got really annoying after a while. Mostly because I realized how annoying I am.
Well, I mean, so Magic is like your heart, your soul, your job, your hobby, your passion,
and I can't get a name.
But that's you are not the only person who does that. So I think a lot of people are like they are you in their friend group where they say the wrong card name or they get a word wrong on the card. Or like, for example, Plague Crafter, this new card. Like I've heard hundreds of people call it Plague Bear, Plague Spitter, because it has plague something and like it's hard to keep
bubonic
track.
plague.
I like Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah.
Is that like a KOTOR reference?
No, that's from Star Wars Episode 3. You haven't heard the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No.
That's sad. That's very sad. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay. Thanks, pal.
Thanks.
I'll be here all day.
All right. So that's the deck I'm playing, the Disinformation Campaign. This is a mid-range deck. It has a lot of removal. I don't think my removal is going to be very good in this matchup, though. What are you playing today, Brad, and why?
I am playing Turbo Fog today, and the reason why is because the deck, I think, lost enough pieces, even though it's subtle what it lost, really. Like, it lost Cycle Lands for the biggest part. Glimmer also. Mm. And you have Chemist's Insight, but I haven't liked that card in this deck. I don't like card advantage, just drawing a bunch of cards, because you can't cycle away excess lands. You just kind of end up flooding and falling behind. That's how I felt with the deck.
So, from my perspective, I've actually I have yet to play with Turbo Fog in either the last format or this one. And but the thing that I noticed is that you need a giant amount of mana to be able to really take advantage of taking these extra turns with Nexus of Fate. Mm-hmm. And I feel like drawing 2 cards, I mean, even if you draw a land and a spell, that's still better than drawing 1 card a turn. And also later in the game, the jumpstart on Chemist's Insight lets you turn one of those extra lands into 2 fresh cards.
Well, all I know is I am playing a version of the deck that a Magic Online Grinder, or I made a few changes, but it was very similar to a Magic Online Grinder's version of the deck after trying some of these cards. Mm. And that's, I just feel like the format still is fast, it hits hard. Mm-hmm. And one of the cards I'm playing with the mana is Elvish Rejuvenator. I want more acceleration. I want to hit my bigger cards.
Yeah,
I want to get excess mana so I can play a fog and a different spell on time. And that might not be the correct way, and maybe this version is bad, and maybe the deck is good. But what I'm doing is this week on Live Versus, I'm playing Thursday as well, and I want to showcase what porting a deck over looks like compared to just reinventing a new strategy. And Thursday, I'm going to have a strategy that no deck in the previous format looked like.
Sure.
And so that's where we're going, and it has a lot of theory behind it, and the theory was the execution. I went 21-4 with it the first time I played it.
Yeah, that's great.
And so I'm going to keep working on it until then, because I want the best version for people this weekend who actually want to play the deck as well. Mm. But I feel like we should just get into the games.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking for a while. I'm sure Brian wants to see some Magic.
Oh, wait, we got to let Brian say the thing that he wants to say.
Oh, yeah.
And live from Roanoke, Virginia, it's Versus
Live!
No,
it's just Versus Live.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's all about branding, Brian.
I had one job, I ruined it. All right, I'll see you later.
All right, 7-Eleven game, so you goes first?
Yep.
Brian, how do you play the 7-Eleven game?
I bet he doesn't even know.
Do you know how to play 7-Eleven game?
If you roll, the first person to roll 7 loses.
Yeah, but if you roll a 7 or an 11 wins.
Yeah, 11 also wins.
Didn't CDM and I were the first to make this game? I think.
You maybe were.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, tie!
Rats. I've rolled 3 10s.
We probably shouldn't play this game live because I've never thought about the idea that if we go way too long.
All right, as you guys are rolling,
We're 7.
guys, here's a question: What's your number 1 pick for standard this weekend?
It's I'm waiting for my article to drop, my album to drop on Thursday before I talk about it. But Thursday I will have it because it's my deck. Okay. Of known strategies, I really do like the mono red deck with 4 of the frenzied, what's it called?
No, it's runaway steam. Runaway steamkin.
No,
is what you're looking
experimental risk factor.
Risk factor.
Wow.
Risk factor.
So you're saying you're going to be spitting?
Yeah. Well, it plays that card too. It plays both.
I know.
You're going to be spitting hot fire on Thursday. Is that when you're mixing?
No, I have a different deck. No, I think that the mono red decks that play risk factor have looked really good.
I agree. I think risk factor is criminally underrated. I think the card. Every time my opponent casts it, I just want to.
For a second, my online, the first time I played against it, my opponent like popped off the enchantment, the Flame of Keld, and then flashed it back. And I'm like, I don't want to take 8. I forgot it's only 6, but it's still 6.
Yeah.
But for a second, I thought it was double, and I'm like, this is absurd.
I also thought it was double. I played a little bit with red, and I thought it was double.
I'm keeping the nuts.
Yeah. Okay. I'm dead. All right. This is a matchup that game 1 is going to be extremely bad because apparently Brad has 4 copies of Search for Ascanta, which is very good at grinding through all of my
I think the deck should just play 4 Search.
That's possible. Your turn. I mean, it very well could. You have a lot to do.
I forgot I put that.
Or you have a lot of reason to want 4 searches. Yep.
I also think this card is great.
So this is Elvish Rejuvenator. This is a card has been in standard since Core Set 2019, but just come on, it's been overshadowed quite a bit because of the power level from the other cards. And I think it's actually great in Brad's deck because it lets him ramp, but also it can be used to protect a fairy for a turn, which I really like as well. Your turn.
Also attacks for 1 point of damage.
It does attack for 1 point of damage. It puts some pressure on planeswalkers. What are you doing?
Pausing for reflection.
He drew the card. Pause for reflection.
Attack.
Yeah, I'm taking it. 19 me.
You know you wanna. Resolves.
All right. Play Sinister Sabotage. That's of course 3 mana counterspell, and I surveil 1. I don't think I want another land, so we're gonna bin it.
Go.
Draw. Go. This deck playing out a lot like just a normal control deck at this stage, but once we get one of our engines going, might be okay. 18 me. That resolves.
Wait, what am I doing?
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Good thing I know those cards.
Yeah. Big scum cheats. Miss. It's so hard to miss on the top 5 cards.
It's 5 for lands.
Yeah.
I think this card is...
If they print any other, pretty sweet land, it also just might be good at helping... we don't have a Nykthos Shrine to Nyx in the format yet, right? But, they could print some land that has some insane ETB effect, or, later in the game, let's say a land comes in and it's if you have 5 other lands, it makes 2 2/2s or something.
That would be so...
I know, I'm just saying, there's no specialty land, really, that we want to get with it, but the fact that it gets any land on the top 5 is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
All right, go.
Seems like a card that could even see play in modern Valakut decks.
Possibly. I mean, it's just a great card. I'm gonna Moment of Craving 1. I assume you won't have a whole lot to
your turn
to do otherwise. I go to 16, or sorry, I go to 20, and then I go down to 19.
All right.
Draw. Go. I go to 18.
Go.
Fun game Magic.
Oh no, so many Field of Ruins. That is just rude.
Go.
Go.
Attack for 2.
Yep.
18 to
18.
18. Your turn.
All of these goes.
I drew a very control-y portion half of my deck instead of like the disinformation campaign.
Draw.
All right, before you draw, pop the search.
I'll activate it.
Sure.
4. Aw.
You missed?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know it's
How many Elvish Rejuvenators were in that top 4?
1. You saw it. You know it. You saw it.
What are you talking about? I didn't see anything. Just a harmless question.
All right, now I can drop.
Yep. I'm gonna counter that.
Sure.
I will keep that.
Go.
Cast this.
Oh no.
Attack.
Yeah, 16.
I'll go to 16 and draw a card.
All right.
Go.
This is getting rough. Go.
So I don't want him to go. If I draw a card here, he can go Time Walk and then untap and play Teferi with a bunch of mana up. So I think I'm just gonna untap here. We have plenty of cards. Got plenty of good stuff going on.
This is not good.
All right. Attack for 2.
This is there. 14.
All right. I'm going to play a Thought Erasure. Target you.
Oh, Nexus.
I think I'm actually okay with Nexus resolving based on my hand and this resolving. So there's 2 fogs.
Karn's Temporal Sundering.
We'll take Karn's Temporal Sundering, I guess. All right, we're going to keep this card on top.
This matchup does feel bad. I need to like
and
get really ahead real fast.
go. Yeah, I mean, luckily I drew Field of Ruin for
Go.
first Ganta. No, it's your turn.
You get
again.
to take
Oh
an
yeah, I
extra
get to take an extra turn.
Mhm.
Forgot about that one. Go.
All right, draw a card. Go to 14.
Sure.
turn. Is this Turbo Fog or Turbo Flood?
Sure.
Gotta take my. Oh yeah, you have 4 mana. I only thought you had 2 mana. For some reason, this made me think they were all tapped.
Do you want to take that back?
Oh, it resolved and it's in my deck.
That's true. Well, it was gonna be in your deck regardless, but all right, so it's 14 to 14, I think. Oh.
Use those counters.
So you have 2 cards in hand? So it's just the 2 fogs?
Yep.
All right, that resolves.
Draw.
In response.
Yep.
Rest is content.
Yeah.
So I go to 16.
Search for Scanta.
Yep.
Untap. Go.
Draw.
Yeah, that's 6 out.
Attack for 2.
Yeah.
12 to 16.
And we are through only 2 counterspells.
Are you excited about the point in the game where you're going to have to start fogging a single Ravenous Chupacabra?
Yeah. No, I have more
I'm
targets.
going to play a Doom Whisperer. This is my pick for best card in the set. Your turn.
Drop.
Yep.
So that's going to happen, and if it does, I guess I want a counter. I guess I want to like try to force it to Fairy or even a Time Walk. Okay. Activate.
Yeah, that resolves.
3, 4. Guess we'll take Karn and try to play Karn. Or maybe do we play Karn? Do we play Karn? Yeah, I'll play Karn.
That leaves you with 3, 4 up. And one of the fogs costs 3, one costs 2.
Yep.
I'm just going to counter it. This might be wrong. We're going to surveil 1. Okay.
Your turn.
Upkeep. I'm going to pay 2 life and surveil. I go to 14. We'll keep. Both of these. I'll attack
That's
for
disturbing.
8.
Pause for reflection.
Yep. So you got 1 up.
Yeah.
You have 2 cards. I
Yep.
will play Disinformation Campaign, make you discard.
I feel like.
I draw. I will Field of Ruin your search. For
Did you
Santa.
know that I was posting this deck when you picked yours?
I was playing this deck 100%.
Oh.
I streamed it for 5 hours yesterday.
All right. I feel like this is just, you're doing me dirty right now.
All right. I'm going to pay 2 and Surveil. Go to 12. Return this.
I would have loved it if Todd posted a different deck and then ran this one for the disinformation aspect.
Discard.
Ah.
Go.
Haha.
Nice.
All right, let's just do it all. Can we do it all? I don't think we. Yeah, we can do it all.
It's Variant to untap. Time off, yeah.
Go.
So you gain 3 life here at 15.
Is that doing it all these days? I don't know.
All right. Draw.
Having fun, Todd?
Yeah, a lot actually. You're at 7. I will. Play another Doom Whisperer, I guess. I don't know. Your turn.
All right, Dad.
Tight.
I didn't feel too good about that.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break while Brad and I figure out sideboarding. We'll be right back.
Oh, do I lead?
I mean, you lost. You're gonna be on the play.
All right.
So.
So things that I'm going to be changing is we're going to have more interaction. Fogs and Settle the Wreckage is not where you want to be against a deck that has so many ways to interact with your hand and countering. So we're taking out all of our Fogs and Settles and the Cardinal Sundering, Temporal Sundering, since we don't really need to lean on Time Walks in a matchup like this. And
also, there's a chance that bouncing a permanent doesn't do that much against me. Like,
No. I never thought the card was good in it, but honestly, I don't play a lot of Turbo Fog. So, okay, I'll be honest. I've only played 1 league with Turbo Fog. So I don't really like the deck, but I played against it a lot, and it's miserable to test against. But
that's true.
But so
that's false.
It's false.
That's false.
That's why I
guess
find
it's
it
all
miserable.
about perspective. Yeah,
it is the perspective.
Yeah.
I thought it was miserable when he was testing Turbo Fog.
All right, real quick, I want to ask Brian a question.
Yeah.
This is basically a sanity check.
Okay.
Is it fun to play against Lantern Control?
So would you say you're a thief of sanity at this point in time?
No.
Okay.
What?
That's not even a real pun. It's just a card that's coming in, and you just wanted to say the name of the card because I said sanity check.
That is totally accurate.
He's a crazy person.
Yeah.
I would say that Lantern Control is fun to play against if you're playing a deck that can interact with it.
I agree with that 100%. I actually find it the games when I play against Lantern to be very interesting with the decks that I play.
I mean, I think the first
like Bogles is going to be better.
I think the first 4 or 5 turns are great, and then the last 25 turns where you're losing is bad.
You mean the time when you concede, when you're supposed to concede?
Yeah, usually. I mean, sometimes there's a chance.
Yeah, you tell me there's a chance.
Sometimes you think that opt in your hand is going to get you there.
That's fair.
Anyway, so what I'm going to be doing is bringing in Carnage Tyrants, Knight of Autumns to interact with all the enchantments.
Mm-hmm.
And you have more of these? How many of these do you have?
1 main, 1 board.
Oh, so you drew the 1?
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm bringing in 3 of my 4 negates. I don't think I want to lean too heavily on them because I still want to cast my spells.
Mm-hmm.
And Cleansing Novas as my Wrath, but I can also just clean up like 2 enchantments with this card proactively.
No, I Cleansing Nova is great against me just because there are going to be times where I just kind of run out of stuff and just play a Doom Whisperer and hope it's good enough.
Yeah.
And then Cleansing Nova just being able to kill it is great. But at the same time, just the versatility of being able to take care of a Bloodfast, or if I get like 2 disinformation campaigns going, or 1 of each or something. Yeah, I like Cleansing Nova a lot.
Yeah, I think I should have 2, but maybe I should only have 1 because I have Knight of Autumns.
Sure. Well, I mean, you can just save it for the half if I play a 2 Doom Whisperers. Like, you're boarding out Settle. You need some ways to actually deal with Doom Whisperer, right?
I don't know which one I should put in my deck, so I'm going to put 1 at random.
Sure.
All right.
No,
we don't.
Okay.
You don't get to know.
That's fair.
I don't even know.
From my side, I'm doing the classic like mid-range thing where I get to board out all of my removal because Brad has very few to 0 creatures. Obviously, he has Knight of Autumn, which could actually pose a problem for me just because I'm literally citing out all of my removal. So we're going to be bringing in Thief of Sanity, which is a great card when your opponent doesn't have a lot of removal. Second copy of Bloodfast. 2 Eldritch Reborn because it can sometimes hit Planeswalkers, but it's just a great card in a long, grindy match. 2 copies of Duress to go with the 4th Thought Erasure, and then 5 counter spells to handle some of the more expensive stuff. Again, I think I'm just going to get run over by a 4/3 Knight of Autumn. Just my deck is just not prepared to interact with that card after sideboard. But if we lose to that in game 2, we might board in a few removal spells back in.
Yeah, I put the 4th. I had 4 in the sideboard, and I cut it for a 3rd Carnage Tire, and I don't know if that's correct.
So Todd, Boulder Elf is asking, why are you not playing Chemist's Insight in your deck?
So, Chemist's Insight doesn't... I mean, it's obviously a great card. It allows you to turn dead removal spells into real cards. And if I was playing more counter spells, like if I was playing Syncopates and Negates or Essence Scatter and stuff, and I was more of a doing stuff on my opponent's turn, I think having a card like Chemist's Insight to let you use your mana on your opponent's turn is really good. But since we're mostly just tapping out on our own turn, Disinformation Campaign is that card in my deck. It is that draw engine, and I don't think we need much else besides that.
All right, one more question before you guys start. A lot of people are asking.
We can
about...
ask a few.
What's that?
We don't got to just ask 2 questions. We can ask a few.
All right, well,
take some time.
A lot of people are asking about is it control, including also.
Is it control or mid range?
It's just that's. I'm done, actually. See you guys later. Let's do that. Even me. Yeah, so what do you guys think about is it control in Standard or additionally Jaya Ballard in a deck that can maybe ramp to like Nexuses and things like that?
I mean, Jaya Ballard was like one of the first ways to talk about. That's the first time I ever heard of Nexus of Fate before we saw Bant Turbo Fog.
Yeah.
And I think that Jaya is not a great Planeswalker, but it's definitely a playable Planeswalker. It's not busted, but it is good, especially at sifting through a deck fast.
Mm-hmm.
Its ability sometimes will be better than Teferi's, right? When you're like flooded on lands, and that's the kind of card that you would want, like Chemist's Insight and things of that nature. Maybe there could be a Teamer Turbo Fog.
Don't you worry that with Chemist's Insight and Jaya that there's too much, like, you're not really getting card advantage out of Jaya, you're just filtering through your deck. And Chemist's Insight, the flip side of that's also not really getting you that much card advantage either.
Oh, in that style, yeah. But I think that Jaya Ballard could be played in different decks too. Like not just ones with Nexus of Fate. I just think the card is an actual Magic card that we just was nowhere near the power level of last format.
So I want to take 2 seconds to talk about is that control because I've been trying a bunch of iterations.
Control?
Stop. So
cut.
at the very least, from my perspective, is that control feels a little on the weaker side. If you try to win with things like Nimazet Perun or Ral Izzet Viceroy, I think that you're just going to get run over by things like Steel Leaf Stompy. Even Vinemare is like very problematic for the deck just because it has hexproof. If you don't counterspell it specifically, it's just going to smash you. Things like Carnage Tyrant are a nightmare. And even the mono red decks, if you don't play like main deck Fiery Cannonade or something, like you might just get run over by, just a triple 1-drop draw or 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop draw.
I was just going to say, no one's going to want to hear this, though. I don't know if I have the courage to say it.
I want to hear
it. I want to hear it.
So there are a few things in Magic that when too good are disgusting. And in this format, we can tell 2 things that Wizards is deathly scared of. Giving Golgari a good graveyard theme.
Yes.
Because it is abysmal in this format.
I mean, I will disagree in a second, but continue.
Okay. Well, no, we're on this topic.
Okay. I think Gruesome Menagerie is disgusting. I played against that card on Magic Online one time. My opponent was playing it with 1/3 that whenever you explore, you gain 2 life and put a counter on it. And he would just bring back that, Jade Light Ranger, and like Stitcher Supplier over and over again.
But that's not Dredge.
It's not Dredge.
No, that's what I'm explaining.
Sure,
but they're afraid of Golgari getting a good keyword that breaks Magic. They're afraid of graveyards.
Oh yeah,
They'll make return value cards.
The mechanic Undergrowth is not very good.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I think that Izoni specifically is great. I think that there are graveyard-related decks you can play, but you only need a few payoff cards.
I'm thinking bigger picture. I'm thinking like they don't want Golgari to ever be broken, because when a graveyard deck or a synergy or strategy is broken, it takes over Magic. It has to be banned.
I mean, you can say the same thing for artifacts, and then they just keep making artifact-based sets, and then they have to ban a bunch of stuff.
They've realized, Kaladesh, that we don't have good artifacts. But the other thing that you can tell is it does not look that good. A lot of the cards are great and limited, but control is not a standard thing. None of the cards in seem that great in standard.
So let's go back to Golgari for a hot second. Would you say that neither of you are Undergrowth champions?
Just why? Okay, new rule.
Back to is it?
Okay. New rule. BBD can only relay questions from the chat.
Oh, that was a question from the chat. Let me type it in.
All right, let's go and get started with game 2, because this might be a longer.
Plus, I'm playing control decks in the other formats.
Yeah.
Yo, problems in your head.
Oh, I've been showing enough for a while.
What was it? Was that a serious?
Answer questions.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I don't have anything to do on 2, but I might draw something on 2, and we want to take away a search for a Scanted. Okay, we're gonna take away search for a Scanted.
Now I'm down to 3 cards.
You gotta start. There's another search on top. I got a feeling.
All right, I don't know what the other ones are. I'm at 18 lives from my shock land.
Your turn.
You're taking the 2, huh?
No, I played that tab.
Oh, you played Hinterland Harbor.
Yeah.
Well, you just tapped it and then untapped it. I wasn't paying. Look, buddy. All right, go.
You don't want to play Argyll's Bloodfast?
Sounds like Brad's harboring some resentment.
Oh my god. Why, Brian?
You guys brought me in here. That was a mistake.
That was a Cedric Field. Did you miss?
No, I just want to troll you.
Yeah.
Go.
All right. Let's play a Thief of Sanity and see how good it is.
Ooh.
Your turn. Land Teferi here is gross.
Go.
All right, so you gain 3 life. Make sure
Yeah.
the director needs to know these things, sir.
I forget that I gained 3 life.
All right. So I'm at 18. You're at 23. All right. I will attack for 2. You're at 21. And I will get the best card out of these. Ooh.
Oh, no. BBD is giving me a good reaction. Ooh. How good is it? Is it?
It's very good. I think I actually just want this, though, to slow him down. This is...
Slow me down?
Yeah.
How are you going to slow me down with my own card?
Do those cards go on the bottom, or
I don't know. I don't even know.
Huh?
Graveyard? The graveyard, I believe.
Okay.
Those 2 go in the graveyard.
Oh, Teferi was the ooh?
All right, I'm going to disenchant your Gift of Paradise.
What?
Sup, dog? Not a bottom! All right, and then I'm going to dress you.
Oh, I float it.
Move 2 sec. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Rats. Maybe I won't dress them.
You should move to third, man.
Yeah, I'll just wait. Go.
Okay. Go.
Nice.
This is stupid.
Nice.
No one should ever play Turbo Fog. This is what you'll all fit. Well, I don't know why you're trading here.
Why would I not?
You don't have any removal? Like you might draw an
I have
Eldest
no
Reborn.
removal.
Oh, yeah.
And I might draw an Eldest Reborn. You're exactly right.
You can kill that and get more damage.
Or I can get off the table and kill your friggin' Carnage Tyrant. We'll take that one. These 2 go to the graveyard. I will duress you.
Negate.
Okay.
You know, fight it?
Not really.
No.
I'm gonna play a disinformation campaign.
Negate.
Sure. Your turn.
Go. 22.
All right. Draw for turn. Attack for 2. Trigger. You're at 20. I'm just gonna deck you.
Yeah, this is not. You can't deck me. I guess you could. You could put 4 underneath that.
I don't have Unmoored Ego in my sideboard, but yeah, I could take. Hold on! Stop untapping when I have things to do.
Well, then just do them. Your turns take like 30 seconds.
You have 3 cards in the
annoying.
What is this abuse? I will play it to Teferi.
Yeah.
All right. I will minus on this. Go.
Go.
Minus to fairy, then get the card with Thief of Sanity.
I'll draw a card
That
first.
is blight.
I don't even know if I kind of want to not hit you yet. All right, make you discard a card. All right, I'll hit you.
Yep.
I go. You're at 18. Go.
Go.
That was a missed trigger, sir.
Oh yeah, I did. I should.
Not anymore.
It is,
Oh, it is a mistrigger, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I could have also just played the search for Ascanta underneath. Draw a card. Not erase for you. Ooh, 2 Carnage Tyrants. All right, we'll take one of them. This one.
Okay.
Keep that on top.
Oh, Peter, this is me.
You right.
Mistrigger!
Time for 2. So many triggers.
Mistrigger! I'd like to get another judge to say this judge is helping my opponent.
All right. Actually, we'll just try to close the game with a Doom Whisper and then untap these 2. Okay.
Brad, you seem to be losing your sanity.
Go!
Is there a reason why?
Should we just call it the game or?
Am I dead?
I don't know. You're at 16,
Am I dead?
basically. I don't have a way to deal with Carnage Tyrant yet.
I don't have any left anymore. I discard them.
I didn't even make you discard the other one. I didn't play.
You
I didn't play the.
Oh, you
disinformation.
didn't play it, but you said it. Your turn.
My deck is functioning on all cylinders. Let me do.
What? I'm not doing. I'm in my game. I'm playing my game.
You're just throwing all your hands in the graveyard.
You said disinformation campaign, and I put a card in my graveyard.
All right, make you discard a card. I'll draw a card. Do. All right, I'll make you discard a card. Return this. Take your Garnish Tyrant. Attack for 8.
Wait, I have to shuffle. I forgot.
Sure.
I'm not taking the damage yet. I have to. I have to perform proper game functions, Todd.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
All right, take it.
I keep putting on bottom. Just not used to them going to the graveyard. You discard your last card.
I hope you draw another Nexus of Fate, and then he makes you discard before attacking, just so we get the shuffle.
Your turn.
Okay.
All right, I'm done.
This game is not over. I have a top deck.
Okay.
I hope everyone's enjoying this as much as I am.
Todd, you should pile as you cut, and also count his library to make sure that's the right number of cards.
Yeah. No, I gotta figure out what his odds of drawing a Nexus of Fate are.
Oh man, I only have 5 lands.
That's the joke.
Oh yeah, you untap because it's fairy.
Yeah. Card in hand?
0. Go.
All right, I will move to untap.
Yep.
Upkeep?
Nope.
I'm going to look at these Thief of Sanity cards. Okay. Draw.
Mm-hmm.
Declare text.
Yep.
Attack for 8.
What am I at?
8. Any effects? Any effects, Brad?
No.
All right, so you take 8. You're at 0.
For,
I'm going to put Thief of
First you
Sanity
should-
trigger on the
First,
stack.
you should declare 0 blockers.
Yeah,
And
declare
then
0 blockers.
Zero effects in the attack step. Then 0 effects in the blocking step.
I couldn't.
I missed you so much.
Did you?
No, God, no. This is awful.
Is it?
I'm enjoying it personally.
I mean, you brought a gun to the knife fight, so.
Okay, full disclosure, we played like 2 fun games before we started this match, and Brad won both of them
He
very
was sandbagging.
easily. Very easily, I might add.
He
won
was
very easily.
sandbagging just so he could do that to me on air. He knew. He knew. That's the disinformation campaign.
Yeah,
he performed it.
Yeah.
That was going to be my joke, Brad.
Ha!
I'm so mad right now. I can't.
Mr. Steal your joke. Mr. Steal your joke. All right, let's take some more questions from Twitch chat because
Well, we could talk about those.
I'm sure they're flipping their minds because Brad was doing what he was doing.
There were a lot of
power shuffle mid game.
A lot of calls from the judges. So here's a question from way back when. Speaking of Knight of Autumn, what do you guys think about the Abzan Knight deck that was kind of made a little bit of an appearance at the end of last standard season? Do you think it has legs now?
I don't know what Abzan Knights from last season. I don't even know what that was.
It was like a kind of more of like a control-ish deck with
I don't.
Knights.
Yeah.
What was the green for? I know.
Vraska, Relic Seeker.
Sure.
I didn't know the deck played Knights. I knew there was a control deck that was Abzan.
Well, there's
mostly
Knight
white.
of Grace, Knight of Infamy, and then like probably History of Benalia, and then a bunch of removal spells would be my guess.
Okay. I mean, I've tried playing those decks in the format, but I didn't know there was any that came around. I'm gonna say no because the mana doesn't function, and when it in my opinion, you can't play like off guild. Like, what's the right way to say it? The guilds that are not being showcased in the newest set until all of them are in, because when you play early, so there's 5 guilds in this format.
Yeah,
you shouldn't play the other 5 aggressive shells until those, because you're just off on you're already behind, right? You're behind.
I agree. Not having Godless Shrine is a big deal, but I mean,
it's not even the thing. You don't have any of the like the Orzhov cards where all the other decks get all of their Boros cards.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people ask me like, what do you think about like Simic? I'm just like, what do you mean? What I think about Simic? Like it's.
I don't think Simic is going to be Evolve.
What is with you two?
No. I'm just
not
saying,
even a joke.
It's not a joke because they made Pet Collector or Pelt Collector. I always want to call it Pet Collector.
All right, let's get some more questions from Twitch chat.
All right, what do you guys think about Boros in Standard?
It depends it's really tough to answer that question because there's so many ways you can build a Boros deck. Like you can build it based around Mentor and Hyper Aggression. You can build it big, right? Like you can play like Justice Strike, Knights, Aurelias, Lyras, make it more of a mid-range to deck. You can make it hyper aggressive with Mentor. So just the umbrella question is difficult to answer, but I will say that I do think that both sides could be good. I don't know which one will be better. And I don't know if playing History of Benalia is better than Chain Whirler. I think there's 2 worlds. There's 2 worlds where both you're going to like them.
I mean, that's certainly fair. Like building a Boros deck that can play Chain Whirler is relatively difficult because the white cards you need to splash have to be insane for the splash because that you probably have to play Boros Guildgate.
Exactly.
And like trying to play a Boros Guildgate in a deck like that just seems so gross because you have so many 1-drops.
You won't play 1-drops.
I mean, that's fair. If you want to be like a more mid-rangey Boros deck with Goblin Chain Whirler, that might be okay. But I'm as far as like traditional Boros is concerned, I think that the 1-drops are there. Like if you just want to be more aggressive.
Not really though. You only have Fanatical Firebrand and the Wizard one. You
have the Goblin Mentor. That one's actually a lot better than it looks on paper.
The one?
Yeah.
That dies to Goblin Chain Whirler?
Yeah, but only like 2 decks in the format are going to play Chain Whirler, and they're not going to be like the only deck in the format.
Did we just live in that format? did we only have 2 decks and they both play Chain Whirler?
I will say goblins dying to other goblins is definitely a flavor success.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
As far as the guild is concerned, I like Justice Strike a lot. I think it's one of the
Yes.
better removal spells in the
It's
set.
Boros Terminate.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there are a few cards it doesn't kill that are good, but it kills most of the things that matter, and that would be very problematic for a deck like Boros.
Yeah, it's only a couple too. In all honesty, like cards that you really want to kill with it.
Opposing
that you
Aurelia.
Aurelia is a tough card to fight in the Boros mirrors. It's just a tough card to beat.
Mhm.
Your removal isn't good for it, and you don't want to play cards like Excellence Binding. They're so slow.
Right.
No,
but I think Conclave Tribunal fits that pretty well with when you're playing like History Benalia and stuff.
Well, I do think that there is a Boros Convoke deck, actually. I do think Knight and...
Venerate Luxon is nuts.
Yes, that card is very
awesome.
good. That card is extremely good.
All right, hit us.
So this question for Todd. What do you think about Unmoored Ego in the sideboard of your Dimir deck, or just in general and standard as a card, sideboard option?
It took longer than I thought for someone to be like, is the Surgical Extraction good?
No, I mean, I actually think it's good.
It is.
I mean, there's a lot to be said about cards like that, where if you're playing like a mid-range deck or a control deck, sometimes you're going to face off against a certain card or a certain deck that you just can't beat. And if you have access to a card like Unmoored Ego to strip your opponent of that element of their deck just might not function anymore. With that said, Unmoored Ego, I don't think is very good against things like Mono Green Stompy, because you just need to try to answer the things as they come out. You're not going to be able to beat Vinemare ever. You're not going to be able to beat a Carnage Tyrant ever. So I just basically give up on that match with this deck. A lot of people said, well, you can play a bunch of sacrifice stuff. Well, they also play 20 other small creatures. Like, they're just going to have something to sacrifice that's not their big thing. And even if you randomly manage to get it, last week when I played against Todd Stevens, he just had Fine Finality in his sideboard, and he just brought that in and got 2 Vinemares back, and I just died. So, like, it's hard to beat that deck with this deck, so I've basically just given up on it. If you want Unmoored Ego for stuff like, the Bant Nexus deck, where you take their Teferis from them, that could be a fine option. I think the card is worthwhile.
If your deck, if a deck like that, needs Ego to fight the Teferi decks, then that shouldn't be a deck worth being played, right? Like, the problem with that, a card like Unmoored Ego is... in standard, most decks that you want to cast it against will have transitional sideboards, or they'll just have cards for other matchups. Like History Benalia is a card that Teferi decks are playing, not because they're afraid of losing their Teferis, but because they want to put pressure on other Teferi decks, opposing Teferi decks. So the sideboards are already designed to not lean on Teferi after sideboard.
Right.
And if you just have a bunch of these, weird cards, right? Like, you could open a hand with your Disinformation Campaign, that, and an Argos Bloodfest, which normally should be good against control, and then they just play History Benalia, you might die to it.
Right, and that's something we talked a little bit about during sideboarding of this match, where you just had Knight of Autumns in your sideboard, and if you had just cast
I didn't have Knight of Autumns, you had Knight of Autumns.
Right, well, I stole yours.
Yeah.
With Thief of Sanity. But if he had just cast the 4/3 Knight of Autumn on turn 3 on the play, I don't have removal in my deck. I cut all of it. Those decks, like, even if they're bringing in a threat, it's usually going to be something like Carnage Tyrant that I can't kill anyway. And I got lucky to draw like an early Thief of Sanity, and I got to steal it and do some cool stuff. But for the most part, like, you're just going to see yourself like sideboarding against control deck in such a way where you don't have answers to stuff like History Benalia, even Knight of Grace. Like, these cards are just going to eat you alive.
Yeah, and speaking of that, about this specifically, I do just want to make sure I don't forget to say this. One of the reasons why I wanted to play this deck today is that I don't have a lot of faith in it. I don't think it is a good strategy moving forward, and I'm urging people not to play it. Now, if you disagree with me, I'm fine with you disagreeing with me. I'm just giving you my opinion, and you can do with it as you will. But I did want to showcase that this deck lost its touch because it didn't have Cycle Ends. Now, I didn't know I was going to be playing against a Dimir deck with literally everything, right?
We had it all.
Yeah, you had it all. You literally did. You had Duress, Thought Erasure, Negate, and Disdainful Stroke, and a Cancel. Like, you just had it all. It was yeah.
And I even had your cards.
Yes, you had literally it all. But I did want to bring that, like, it's a weird choice for a Versus Live to bring a deck that you don't have faith in.
No, I thought that we talked about this at lunch before we came in, and I thought it was genius, because so many people on Versus Live, Twitter, various articles we've written have asked us, like, what do you think about Turbo Fog? Like, a lot of the cards that you lost with the rotation can be replaced pretty easily with new cards. And my response has, for the most part, been like every deck got a huge upgrade. You don't have a blue-white guild or a green-blue guild to give you anything remotely reasonable to like compete with the power level of these cards. Yes, you still have Teferi. Yes, you still have Nexus of Fate. But what else are you doing? What else are you doing that matters?
Well, all right, go for it.
Yeah, I want to jump in because I actually wrote an article specifically about Turbo Fog a couple weeks ago, and
this is our time, BBD. It's not your time.
all right, continue.
No, I'm kidding.
All right, so basically, I think that Turbo Fog does have some legs in the format, but I think the biggest loss by far to the deck was the cycle lands because they let you keep going, especially when you're untapping lands with Teferi. And I think the deck has to be built now with a lot of card advantage. And I'm talking like Chart of Course, Divination, and Chemist's Insight, because you can't afford to run out of things to do. Like we saw Brad flooding out with nothing to do, and if he's top decking like Elvish Rejuvenators, they aren't doing anything.
Yeah,
but
that
if
is
he's
true.
top decking Divinations or Chemist's Insights with like 10 mana in play, like he actually might be able to jump back into the game.
That's fair.
I mean, I absolutely think Chemist's Insight is a worthwhile addition to a Turbo Fog deck, even though I don't think Turbo Fog is great.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about like, yeah, you can flood out if you play a bunch of these draw twos, but Chemist's Insight gives you not only like that burst of card advantage, but also card selection on the jumpstart. And when you're discarding like that extra fog in a matchup where it's bad, or an extra land when you already have 10 in play, both those are fine.
Well, the thing I'm talking about is like you're flooding out on not just lands, you're flooding out on fogs, you're flooding out on redundance of different cards. I'm saying like my theory is if you draw cards too quickly in a deck where you don't have a ton of things to do, that's worthwhile, that even putting a bunch of cards in your hand at certain times. Now there's times where if you're running out of steam, of course draw twos in Magic are where you want to be with a bunch of lands and nothing to do with it.
Especially with Runaway Steamkin in the format, you never want to run out of steam.
That is true.
But
now that is a card. I wrote about that today. You should go over. It was just general base theory about the card, and I think that card is going to be one of the format's best cards, because I don't mess around with mana anymore. The last time I learned this when Burning Tree Emissary came into play. I don't mess around with free mana. Like I don't sleep on it. I mean, I don't sleep on free mana. Like if a card provides it, or good mana reduction, or gives free mana, it's worth taking a look into, especially a creature like this.
I'm going to name two cards that I think you aren't given enough credit.
One gets a little credit. The other one is abysmal and should never be played again.
Which one?
Amulet.
Yeah, Primal Amulet. You know. Okay. I just want to point out one thing. I realized I didn't figure this out until I started playing the deck a little bit on Magic Online. The Primal Amulet flip into the land is optional. Like you can just leave it as the mana reduction and just keep playing it as is. And then at any point you play an instant or sorcerer, you may flip it after that.
Okay.
So like you're talking about mana reduction, and you can just use it as a mana engine. It's just what's the blue 2-mana rock that lets all your blue cards cost one less?
All right, here's a lesson in
one
Magic.
For every color.
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called.
I don't know. And Goblin Electromancer is obviously great.
Yeah, Goblin Electromancer is a good Magic card. But they both have something that Runaway Steamkin does not. And here's a Magic lesson. They both have a restriction. You have to play instants and sorcerers in your deck.
You have to play red cards.
Oh, with my red card? That's not a restriction.
I really wish.
Shane Ruler in your deck. I'm sorry, Brad. You have to do it.
Right.
Oh no! Why would I do this?
I'm gonna say one thing about Runaway Steamkin. I wish it said instant or sorcery. If it said instant or sorcery, it would be a 4 of in like all of my blue-red decks that are just like spell dense or whatever. And I mean, it would be nuts with like Chemist's Insight.
That's
and stuff
because
like
you
that.
just, for some reason, won't put a Rekindling Phoenix in a deck you play. You're like, I'm not going to play a Mythic that is really hard to deal with that can win me games of Magic. I have to find this really weird extra.
You know what my goal for my next Izzet deck is going to be that I'm going to be streaming tomorrow? I'm going to Tormenting Voice or Chart of Course the Arclight Phoenix. That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do.
You could just
4
play
Arclight Phoenix, 4 Jumpstart the Radical Idea.
You better get some ops in there.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be in there. Yeah,
all
right, let's do one more question, then we're gonna take a break.
All right, last question. A lot of people have been asking about the card Experimental Frenzy. What do you guys think about that card?
I got a lot to say, but I think Brad had more important things to say.
About is that the enchantment?
That's
four
the
mana
future-
enchantment.
The red future.
Oh, I
state
was
card.
actually just talking about risk factor, but I can talk about experimental frenzy. I played against I don't remember which. I played a lot of Magic in the last couple of weeks, but after a really long game too with that card in play, I boarded in a card against it.
What's it, Knight of Autumn?
No, it was Sorcerer's Spyglass. So the value of the card and the reason why it's disgusting is you get to somewhat keep up in a game of Magic with the card for a couple turns, sometimes better than others.
Yeah.
And you need to play a lot of cheaper cards in your deck. You can't play a lot of 4s and 5s because when you're playing that card, you need to be able to churn through your deck fast. Because if you're not doing that, any turn where you stumble, you're just playing one big thing every other turn. It's not good enough. But the value you get out of the card when it's in an appropriately built deck, and we're still figuring out the right ones to do it with, is you just turn through your deck for a couple turns, even though you're not playing the cards that you want to play, targeting the things you want to do, you're still just generating some value.
Yeah.
And then you pop it off and you have 7 cards in your hand to your opponent's 2. And that's where the card gets a ton of value. But if you Sorcerer Spyglass it, then they're just stuck playing out the top forever.
I don't know how much you've played with or against it.
A decent amount.
At least on Versus Live. Todd Stevens has played it in a couple decks. I think Ross played it in a couple decks. And whenever they got to untap, if they ever cast more than one spell off the top on that turn, that was usually enough to turn the tide immediately in their favor. And then I was left playing catch up for the rest of the game. Obviously, I always lean towards playing like these slower control decks. They're trying to answer things, and I just never had a great answer for Experimental Frenzy, and that was like a pretty huge problem. And it's probably not going to be very good in like an aggro v aggro mirror, at least in game ones. But after sideboard, if your deck is like a bunch of removal, a bunch of creatures that have
that's
good
what red
ETBs.
decks do against each other. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's a great sideboard card, but like game one configurations, I think you just need to find slightly different configurations for game one that just don't rely on it.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't play it as a main deck card. I would play it as a sideboard card. And to be fair, your experiences against the card are going to be skewed because you play these 1-for-1 answer, draw a bunch of cards.
No, 100% I agree.
The bad decks.
All right.
I want to add one quick thing about the card. I actually think it might be really good in Modern, where you have fetch lands that allow you to reset the top of your library. For example, I think it could be a really good sideboard card in Burn for some of the grindier matchups where you can go like upkeep, burn spell you off the top, draw a land, or then have a land, to play for turn, and then play another burn spell. You get to kind of control your library, especially with fetch lands.
Well, this is my theory, is that Ego is going to allow Lantern to come back. You told me about this.
Unmoored Ego, yep.
Yeah. Unmoored Ego is an answer to Tron and to KCI, 2 of Lantern's most problematic permanents. It's a lot of artifact on artifact, like hate, just running around. They all hate each other. And they are each other's bad matchups. It's crazy how that's true.
They hate the player and the game.
Yeah. And but so if that's an answer, then Experiment is a great answer to Lantern.
Yes. Yeah.
It just beats Lantern.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lantern really can't do a whole lot about that.
Yeah. You actually are trying to keep like
land. Oh, you always keep. You have to keep like land on top
yeah,
every time.
Every time.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this portion of Versus Live. We have finished Standard. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to come back with Modern, I believe.
Modern.
We're going to be playing some sweet decks. I am playing Andrei Starowski's Bant Spirits deck that recently won a Grand Prix.
And I'm playing Blue-Eye Control.
Excuse me, it's Azorius Miracles.
Azorius Miracles.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. We'll be right back after this short break.